Okay, great. So anyway, nice to see everybody here, Sue and Maureen as well. So I knew the moment, I'm just happy, I'm always going to keep doing this, but I knew the moment I was putting everything on YouTube, no one would show up anymore because people can just come on their own time, which is great, that's fine. But it's nice to have a bit of a live audience. I don't mind one way or another, but it just, if people have questions, for instance, and they do want to talk about stuff, we can, sort of go over things if you like. But anyway, I'm just going to sort of keep doing what I'm doing. I am going to do a little bit of a different meditation today. It's sort of come in my mind that I'm going to do. I'm trying to sort of strip everything down, make things a little bit more, a little shorter, less kind of rushed. So I'm going to do sort of that abbreviated version of the Lama Chopa meditation that I did last week. I'm going to do that a lot of times. I'm going to do Gana Lagema like I'm doing today, and then I'm going to do a very abbreviated version of the George meditation maybe next week. So it's between those three, I'll cycle back between them, again, visualization, everything else, and then we'll continue on with the class stuff in the last 15, 20 minutes. So today, I guess I've got maybe another 3 or 4 classes of this particular module on 3 principal paths. And then after that, sort of going to be teaching on stuff from ACI class 2, which is perfection of wisdom, just stuff on Buddha nature, a bit of things on that. And that's going to be maybe a little longer, we'll see. And again, same thing, just fit in 15-minute blocks. I'm just going to take the best, kind of distill out of that material what I think is most important, and then add in stuff from LamRim and Rinpoche's teachings, this and that. So it's kind of like a bit of a soup of a bunch of different things here. Okay, so let's just get started here with starting with the Heart Sutra again, like we always do. So you can just sort of go into meditation here and just sort of listen to the words. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir and Mass Vulture's Mountain, together the great assembly of monks and the great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time, also, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke. And Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter in the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence, form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They're not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, and also no element of mental consciousness. There's no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the 3 times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection, wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it is not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata, Om Gata Gata Paragata Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, Bodhisattva, Great Being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, that he'd spoken well. Good kiddo, son, it's like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, The entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, that's just a reminder. We always start everything and end everything with emptiness, sort of seeing the dreamlike quality of things so we don't get attached, whether we're doing bad things or good things or whatever. Everything's just like a dream. Now we can just take a moment to do 3 rounds of 9-point breathing just by ourselves. So again, just for the first 3 inhales, closing the right nostril, inhaling, closing the left nostril, exhaling out. So inhale through the left nostril, exhale through the right, getting rid of anger issues, reactivity, frustration, so forth. Flipping it over where we're inhaling through the right and closing the right, exhaling through the left, getting rid of attachment, being able to let go of things, being stuck, so to speak, all these kinds of sort of negative minds that way. That's all getting flushed out. And then the last 3 breaths through both nostrils, nice, slow, deep breathing from our tummy here. And on the final inhalation, we are just going to hold the breath at the navel, just a little bit below our belly button, and put our mind there, mixing our breath, our energy or prana with our mind. And when that starts to get uncomfortable, we can just exhale and release. So do the whole thing 3 times. So while we're just finishing up here, even just while you're just doing the last bit of 9-point breathing, you can start to visualize that we're in a wide open space surrounded by all sentient beings. We're all going to be doing our practice together here this morning. So we visualize in this wide open space our all sentient beings without exception. So our mother on our left, our father on our right, people behind us that we love the most as support, and people in front of us that we have issues with as objects of our compassion and healing. And then going outwards, sort of in concentric circles, the people closest to us in our life, and we can even just feel the people that we interact with sort of on a day-to-day basis, we have more karma with, and that should go out, it's sort of less familiar and more strangers, so to speak, but nevertheless, we're all interrelated. And we can just think of humans from all over the world, animals from all the different ecosystems, spirit beings from the spirit worlds, ethereal, astral worlds, so forth, all sort of between the 6 realms and in the 6 realms themselves. Celestial beings, gods and demigods, and countless beings in lower states of rebirth, hell beings and hungry ghost beings. Everybody's sort of happy and all together here to meditate. Again, if everything is interrelated or everything is in relationship, then we are in relationship with all these beings, all these different worlds and dimensions. And if we are in relationship with all beings, there's no such thing as not being in relationship, then everything we do affects everybody else. And we can just feel that us meditating together here with a good intention and good view has a positive impact on the world and all beings within. Okay, so for Day for Gandalagema, or Hundreds of Deities, Land of Joy, let's do the visualization for that. So we're all, sentient beings, we're all here in a wide open space. We have a beautiful blue sky above us. And in the blue sky above us and in front of us, we can feel that we're sort of interacting or sort of merging or bringing together two sort of worlds, our world here, our samsaric world, and the Pure Land or Buddha universe of Gandin Pure Land or Land of Joy. The Pure Land of the universal Buddhists who teach Buddhism, so Buddha Shakyamuni, and being the 4th universal Buddha, 5th universal Buddha being Buddha Maitreya. So we said this is Maitreya's Pure Land here, as well as the Pure Land of the Buddha of Wisdom, Manjushri. So we're just sort of looking in the sky above us. We're just seeing this amazing, beautiful land, no sufferings, everything sort of blissful and beautiful. So we can just feel, like I say, if you see pictures, how they draw, it's just kind of like those wonderful Chinese paintings of mountains or landscape paintings and so forth. Yeah, so living in a beautiful country like Canada, we can think of BC or Northern Ontario, Quebec or so forth, where, you know, like when I was a kid, we grew up in the boreal forest, Northern Ontario. And so beautiful, the sort of Canadian shield and lakes and rocks and beautiful trees, or here in BC with the mountains and the lakes and so forth and the ocean. In the center of this land, we're visualizing a beautiful little monastic sort of monastery, or almost like university town. And in it are all bodhisattvas and Buddhas, gods and goddesses and so forth, higher Arya beings here in this Pure Land, practicing Dharma, meditating, writing Dharma books, debating, so forth, doing pujas. And in the center, we have sort of a central cathedral, almost like a Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris or some big cathedral. We're looking at it and the main doors are open and we can see inside. And in it is the future Buddha, universal Buddha, Buddha of loving kindness, Buddha Maitreya, and he's seated on a throne like a chair, showing he's about to stand up and sort of come down into our world to teach a new form of Buddhism. Sometime soon, we don't know when, but the way Kali Yuga is rolling along here, sometimes I think it could be next week. But anyway, that's a joke. Maitreya is here and he's seated. He's got a beautiful golden body wearing silks and ornaments. He has a crown. He's holding in the turning of the wheel of Dharma Mudra with his index fingers touching his thumbs at his heart here, holding 2 white lotuses. The golden initiation vase on one and an 8-spoke Dharma chakra on the other. And then on his right or our left is the founder of the old Kadampa lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, Atisha, Deepamkara Vijana, a famous Indian Pandit, and is probably one of the greatest Buddhist practitioners of his day. This is in the 11th century. And he's in lotus position in the 3 robes of a monk. And he's got his hands in the turn the wheel of Dharma mudra as well. And they always have the little stupa, golden stupa beside him. I think that's on his left, usually how they do it. And it's on one side. And then on the other side, our right, or Maitreya's left, is Tsongkhapa, founder of the new Kadampa tradition, or our tradition, Gelugpa tradition, the 1400s. And he's in the way we usually visualize him, which is 3 robes of a monk, yellow pants hat, Trinity of Dharma mudra at his heart, holding 2 white lotuses. The left one has the Prajna Paramita text in 100,000 lines. And the right one has a flaming sword on it. So that's inside the little cathedral or the little temple there. So we're seeing that this is sort of a continuity from the Buddhas here in Pure Land of Tushita, or again in Pure Land. We have all the full paths of the vast path of compassion, profound path of emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, path of sutra, and path of tantra, all brought together, teachings of the old Nalanda tradition in India, all sort of compiling all Buddhist teachings over the years, over the centuries of commentaries and so forth, sort of in living form in Atisha, who brings them to Tibet in the 10th century. And then after he passes into parinirvana a few centuries later, Tsongkhapa, our famous saint of our tradition, the new Kadampa, is sort of revitalizing Tibetan Buddhism and sort of wanting to get back to basics, back to the old sort of Indian ways of practicing unity of Sutra and Tantra. So here we have it. And then on and on, all the Panch Lamas and Dalai Lamas and our teachers down the current day with our teachers, Zasep Rinpoche and our Lamas. So taking refuge from our heart, we can go, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the mere kingdom from passing generosity and other perfections, may attain enlightenment or the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the mere kingdom from passing generosity and other perfections, may attain enlightenment or the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the mere kingdom from passing generosity and other perfections, may attain enlightenment or the benefit of all sentient beings. Let's just start taking refuge from our heart, and wonderful white lights and nectars coming down from the Pure Land, in particular from Buddha Maitreya, from his heart, going into us and all sentient beings around us. White lights, nectars, energy, flushing out all negativity, sufferings, delusions, obstacles, obstructions, delusions, so forth, all getting flushed out of us and all sentient beings. All of us becoming crystal clear. And now the lights and nectars turn color to sort of a golden color. So it's almost like sunshine coming down from the Pure Land. So it is almost like if just on a summer day, if the sun, imagine the sun's like really, really big in the sky. Of course, if we visualize it really big in the sky, then it's too hot. But just putting that aside, let's just say it's a really, really big, beautiful sun, get really, really close to us. And then wonderful sunshine's coming into us. It's the same kind of analogy here that we see that we've got Gendon or Tushita Pure Land close by here, just in the sky, close to us. We're sort of having a bridge over to this beautiful Buddha paradise, and wonderful blessing energies coming down to us for refuge in Bodhicitta. And we can go, may all beings have happiness in its causes. May all beings be free of suffering in its causes. May all beings constantly dwell in joy, transcending sorrow. May all beings dwell in equal love for both those close and distant. So a wonderful golden energy coming into us and coming out from our heart, going out to all sentient beings, first of all, giving love. We want all these beings to be happy in their lives. Giving compassion, this golden energy coming from our heart, wanting them to be relieved from suffering. Joy, they say wanting never to be separate from the happiness, so joy of nirvana, joy of enlightenment. Also just joy, like I always like to put it, almost more in a Nietzschean vein. So joy is a positive power, a creative power. We're always talking about compassion and wisdom in Buddhism, but the third thing we always talk about is power. And power in the West has sort of a negative connotation, that power means coercion or, totalitarian thinking and domination. But power is also creativity, also the power to live, the power to do things in your life. So what we're talking about here is sort of almost like a power of joy that we can share with others, this sort of affirmative, almost redeeming grace that we have. So this is, we're sharing all that with all sentient beings as well. And then finally, equanimity, being beyond attachment and hatred. So having a warm, friendly, caring attitude towards beings. Now looking up in our mind's eye again at the Pure Land, we can see, looking up at Buddha Maitreya's heart. So at his heart, they always say there's just like a little golden eternal knot made out of energy, and then that sort of melts. And then you start getting beautiful white fluffy clouds. Now we say like white curd, that's sort of the Tibetan example. Of course, we could think of it being like sort of white whipping cream here, sort of in the West. And on it, we're visualizing Tsongkhapa with his two heart students, Japa Gyatso and Kedrubje. So just in our mind's eye, we're looking up, and all these monks sort of look the same. So Tsongkhapa is in his way we visualize him, 3 robes of monk, yellow pants, hat, holding 2 white lotuses in the eternal of Dharma mudra. And then the 2 students, Japa Gyatso and Kedrubje, in front, have one, they have the teaching mudra with their right hand. So the index finger touches thumb, fingers open, and their left hand is in their lap. A little Dharma text in their lap. Now let's look a little closer at Tsongkhapa. So at his crown, we're going to visualize the Buddha of wisdom on a white mundus, so Manjushri. And Manjushri is in his form that we usually see in lotus position. He's got a golden energy body, light body. He's wearing a crown, ornaments, and so forth. He has the 3 jewels mudra at his heart, and these wonderful white lotus around his ear with the Prajnaparamita text on his left ear. And then his right hand with the threatening mudra is holding a flaming sword above his head. And then at his heart, so it's 3 beings actually, we're going to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni's higher angelic form, which is Conqueror Vajradhara. And this is solo, so he's got a beautiful sapphire blue body, wearing a crown in lotus position, holding a dorje and bell crossed at his heart. Now going down to Tsongkhapa's throat, again on a red lotus is the Buddha of Compassion. And Buddha of Compassion, this is Chenmo Gravalkashvar in this position, forearms, beautiful white color, holding a multicolored jewel with his first 2 hands at his heart. And then 2 hands hold a crystal mala and a white lotus. And again, at his heart again is Vajradhara, Conqueror Vajradhara. And finally at Tsongkhapa's heart, so this is, again, like I was saying, you've got wisdom at the crown, at the throat, compassion, then at the heart power is the Buddha of power, Vajrapani. And he's standing up, and he's a dark blue color, and he's, the way we always see him, he's wearing a little tiger skin loincloth, kind of like Tarzan, and he's got 5 colored snakes, kind of like necklaces around him, or like little bangles. And he's got a little crown on, and he's holding a dorje to the sky with threatening mudra with his right hand, and his left hand is a lasso, kind of like tying up or subjugating negative energy. And he's burning, he's on fire, wisdom fire. And his heart is Conqueror Vajradhara as well. That's a lot of Buddhas on one spot. We're making kind of like a body mandala here. So Japa Gyatso is on our left, or Tsongkhapa's right. He was the first Ganden throne holder, sort of Tsongkhapa's main student, taking over after he passed into parinirvana, and all the Mahamudra sort of, I guess, your whispered lineage, or they call Ensa lineage, comes from him. All the sort of heart practical advice teachings from Tsongkhapa and the Kanam emanation scripture come through him. At our teachers to the current day. So at his heart, he's seen as an emanation of Chenrezig. So his heart is Avalokiteshvara, forearm mode in lotus position, beautiful white colored body. And Avalokiteshvara also has a little, I forgot, kind of like an antelope or deer skin, showing that's sort of the symbol of long life, but also gentleness, kind of like your water element, which is your Jingqi is the most powerful life force energy, but also sort of delicate and fragile, and also gentleness of water, power of water. It can be super, super powerful, but at the same time can be sort of slow moving, gentle and nurturing, just like compassion. And Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezig's heart, is Conqueror Vajradhara. Now, on the other side, we're looking on our right, or Tsongkhapa's left. Kajupje is looking straight at you, kind of with an intense look, showing that he is the Buddha of power. So at his heart is Vajrapani again. At Vajrapani's heart is Vajradhara. Now do the invocation here. From the heart of the protected hundreds of days of joyful land to the peak of a cloud, which is like a cluster of fresh white curd, all-knowing Losandrapa, king of the Dharma, please come to this place together with your two chief disciples. In the space before me on the lion throne, lotus and moon, the venerable Guru smile with delight. Supreme field of merit from my mind of faith, please remain for 100 aeons to spread the teaching. 7-limb prayer here. Your minds of wisdom realizes the full extent of objects of knowledge. Your eloquent speech is the ear ornament of the fortunate. Your beautiful bodies are ablaze with the glory of renown. I prostrate to you, whom to see, to hear, to remember is so meaningful. Pleasing water offerings, various flowers, sweet-smelling incense, light, scented water, and so forth, a vast cloud of offerings both set out and imagined, I offer to you, Supreme Field of Merit. Whatever non-virtues of body, speech, and mind have accumulated since time without beginning, especially transgressions of my 3 levels of vows, with great remorse I declare each one from the depths of my heart. This degenerate urge you sow for much learning and accomplishment, ban the 8 worldly concerns you made your leisure and endowment meaningful. Protector from the very depths of my heart, I rejoice in the great wave of your deeds. From villain clouds of wisdom and compassion, the space of your enlightened mind, venerable and holy gurus, please send down a rain of vast and profound Dharma appropriate to the disciples of this world. May your Vajra body, created from the purity of clear light, free of the rising and setting of cyclic existence, but visible to the ordinary viewer only in its unsubtle physical form, stay on unchanged and without waiting till samsara ends. Through the virtues I've accumulated here, may the teachings and all living beings receive every benefit, especially may the essence of the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa shine forever. Okay, we'll just do the short mandala offering here. I'll just say it in English. I've got that breathless asthmatic voice that's really, really bad to listen to when I'm singing. So I always find it easier just to speak it. So holding at our heart the whole purified universe. Again, we can just, so if you'd like, sort of have it symbolized by the Vedic universe of Mount Meru, 4 continents and the 8 subcontinents, all the possessions of a Chakravartin emperor, empress, leader of the world, so to speak. 16 offering goddesses as well, the sun and the moon, victory banner, and parasol. And in LamRim, they say when you offer the mandala, you can just sort of visualize that it gets kind of duplicated off to infinity. It's just like when you go to a fun fair and you see the mirror and your reflections go off to infinity. We can just feel that. Yeah, the mandalas, there's all sort of these purified galaxies and universes going in all directions that we're making an offering to. And then between them, they say it's flower petals. So it's almost like it's raining cherry blossoms here over the purified universe. This mandala is built on a base resemblant with flowers, saffron, water, and incense, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 lands, the sun and the moon. By offer this pure mandala to you, assembly Buddhas here before me, may all living beings experience pure happiness and be reborn in pure lands. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious gurus. Om Inam Guru Radha Mandala Kam Nirtiyami. That goes up. Now, before we do the dissolution and meditate for a few moments here, let's just do the mantra recitation so we can just feel from the hearts of Tsongkhapa and two sons, Japa Gyatso and Kejupje. Sort of forgot to mention that as we do the 7 limb prayers, we just feel that the clouds holding Tsongkhapa, Japa Gyatso and Kejupje sort of come together. So I would say it's just like rolling out a yoga mat towards somebody. It's almost like a kind of like a crane coming down. This is kind of like the bridge, the rainbow bridge to Shida Pure Land. And this is also a poa that you can do when you die if you just do this visualization that, you know, sort of like your mind's going to follow Tsongkhapa and he's sort of going backwards into Maitreya's heart. It's kind of like you're going to Shida Pure Land when you die. So here we are just sort of bridging this Pure Land with our land here. So they're very, very close. And now just feel when we recite the mantra, all this sort of golden energy is coming from their hearts to all sentient beings around us, making them all glow golden, almost like little stars or little suns around us. And for us, we'll visualize that 3 sort of needles of light come down very, very thin, just made out of energy, and sort of come together as one at the crown of our head. And then gold and lights and nectars and energies coming into our body, giving us blessing energy. And this is just, you know, just like a video game, you're sort of powering up with your spiritual energy. So in that golden nectar, while we sing sort of Tsongkhapa's Mikseme mantra, so first of all, we want great wisdom. There's sort of 7 wisdoms here. So great wisdom that we're sort of going to have the wisdom to understand all the Buddhist teachings, all the different kinds of teachings that Buddha gives, Sutra and Tantra. It says, visualize that in the golden nectar coming into our body are little tiny Buddha statues, well, just made out of energy. So little Manjushris and little Buddha Maitreyas and so forth. They're all floating around. So I would say it's just like that, like little sparkles. If you have the kids' glue that has little sparkles in it, that's all this sort of little sparkly golden little Buddha statues floating around, absorbing into you. And they're sort of even going out energy-wise, calling in all the Buddhas from all the different directions into our body and the mind as well. That's for great wisdom. Clear wisdom, to sort of the clarity to see all the subtle teachings, in particular teachings on emptiness. And this is visualized, again, in the nectar is the mantra, Amarapatsanadi Manjushri. We can think of that either in English or in Tibetan. Om Arapatsanadi, so the 6 syllables there. Quick wisdom, little D syllables, DHI, or the Tibetan syllable. And this is sort of quickly understanding the Dharma, quickly getting over our hang-ups, quickly getting over our doubts, quickly getting over our cynical minds, so forth. So in other words, it's just quickly setting in. All these teachings are sort of being absorbed into us when we get them as personal advice that we live in our daily lives. And then profound wisdom, we can just feel just like little flaming swords coming down within the nectar. You can understand the profound topics. And again, most of all in emptiness, the real profound topic that we have to sort of understand all the different 4 schools of emptiness, Vaibhashika, Sotrantika, Chittamantra, and Madhyamika, what their difference is, how they all blend together, what this means for our personal life, our spiritual path, and so forth. And there's the wisdom of teaching the Dharma, even just if you're not doing it informally to your friends and family, or just living it as an example to others. At that point, we just visualize little Dharma texts coming down in the nectar. Wisdom of spiritual debate. And this is rings of swords, kind of wheel-sharp weapons, like little spinning wheels of swords, and you cutting all the sort of negativities and bad energy. So if you're not running around debating with everybody else over Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, at least you're debating with yourself. I'm not saying you have to run and debate everybody, but if someone asks you questions, and has really wants to know, you know, they have issues or problems with Buddhism and are confused and want you to clear up the confusions, then you can do it. Or even just sort of debating with ourselves the issues we have with Buddhism and misunderstandings, and when we don't understand something, this wisdom is solving, kind of untying all those knots. And then finally, little books and little wheels of swords coming down, which is the wisdom of composing Dharma texts or Dharma books. And we can think even wisdom of composing texts or emails that help people or ask for advice, or even in the Sangha, or giving advice or telling people what to do for meditation or so forth. Just feel that that's sort of coming out in a wise way. That's the most helpful for them. Okay, it's a lot of wisdom coming into your body. This big flow through these sort of three sort of needles and all sort of golden lights as we sing the mantra here. Mig me se wei ter chen chen rei zi. Dri me kien pe wang po jam bao yang. Du pung ma lu chom se sang wei dan. An chen ke pe sung kien Tsongkhapa. Lo sang dra pe sha bla so wa de. Mig me se wei ter chen chen rei zi. Ri me kien pe wang po cham pao yang. Du pung ma lu jom se sang wei dan. An chen ke pe sung kien Tsongkhapa. O sang tra pe sha bla so wa de. Mig me se wei ter chen chen rei zi. Ri me kien pe wang po cham pao yang. Du pung ma lu chom se sang wei dan. Gan chen ke pe sung kien Tsongkhapa. Lo sang tra pe sha la so wa de. You're a Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of unimaginable compassion, Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, and Vajrapani, lord of the secret, destroyer of hordes of Mars without exception. Tsongkhapa, ground jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Lotus and Drop, I make request at your lotus feet. Hey, glorious and precious root Guru, please come to the lotus and moon seat at my heart. In great kindness, please remain with me and bestow upon me the blessings of your body, speech, and mind. Glorious, precious root Guru, please ascend to the lotus and moon seat at my heart. In great kindness, please remain with me. Please grant me the common and supreme realizations. Glorious and precious root Guru, please remain in the lotus and moon seat in my heart. In your great kindness, please remain with me and please remain firm until I achieve the essence of enlightenment. Okay, so doing the dissolution meditation here, let's visualize it inside our body. Our body's hollow now for a moment. And at our heart is a white moon disc. Is a white 8-petaled lotus, and on it is a white moon disc. So that's about the size of a loonie, or sort of a large quarter flat made out of energy. And it's beautiful white, almost like butter. And we're just going to visualize that the whole sort of vision of Tashitta Pure Land starts to sort of go away, starts to melt into light. So we can feel that the Pure Land itself of Tashitta, or again, Pure Land, starts to melt sort of in golden sort of and white light that dissolves into the Buddha of loving kindness and compassion, Maitreya. He becomes sort of a ball of golden light like the sun, and just sort of coming towards Tsongkhapa, who's in front of us, sort of dissolving all the clouds, and then melts into Tsongkhapa. So now in the sky, it's just Tsongkhapa and his two students. So his two students melt from sort of above and below into their hearts. So we can feel Japa Gyaltsen melts into Chenrezig at his heart. who melts into Conqueror Vajradhara, and on the other side, Kedrupche melts into Vajrapani, who melts into Vajradhara. So now the two little Vajradharas are little blue lights, balls of light, and they go and dissolve into Tsongkhapa. And now Tsongkhapa starts to get really, really small. We can sort of keep him in the form he is, but he's kind of this Pure Land, all the Buddhas have dissolved into him. So he's kind of like the embodiment of all the Buddhas and holy beings, all the light beings. And he gets really, really small. Starts to shrink down. So just like a little jewel in the sky there. Like a little piece of yellow topaz or something, or a little piece of gold. And he sort of floats down to the top of our head. He's about the size of sunflower seed, let's say. Turns around so it's facing the same direction as us. Enters the crown of our head. And then very slowly descends, sort of in our central channel here, into our heart. And he sort of lands right in the center, just kind of like a little helicopter landing on a pad on the moon disk there. And then we can just feel that the 8-petaled lotus starts to slowly close up around him. So it's sort of holding him in the center, almost just like you see when a tulip closes up. And that's at our heart. And then you can just feel that, just like when you tie a tulip bulb up, but just with some string on two sides. The top one going clockwise is Manjushri mantra, Amara Patsanandi, and below it counterclockwise is Tsongkhapa's mantra, Guru Samadhikurti Siddhiham. So Guru Vajradhara Samadhikurti Siddhiham. That's the one going counterclockwise. And just feel that starts to dissolve into your heart, right into your mind. So all the compassion, the wisdom and power of all the Buddhas going directly into your mind. Again, sort of melting like butter melting, dissolving into your heart. You feel great joy, great bliss and spaciousness. Okay, so just coming out of meditation here. Just a few Dharma teachings here. Okay, so just sort of finishing up. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about karma, but just finishing up the main parts on renunciation today. We're talking about the 3 principal paths of renunciation, Bodhicitta and Wisdom, realizing emptiness. These are the main paths of your Buddhist practice. This is everything you should be studying and practicing in your life as a Buddhist. So we've been talking about renunciation, which is the foundation for the other 2. Renunciation is what ends up sort of producing your motivation of bodhicitta to get enlightened for the welfare of all beings. to lead them to that same state, that they become Buddhas. And then how we do that is the wisdom realizing emptiness. That's the ultimate medicine for our suffering that we're renouncing. That's what allows us to become enlightened. That's what it means to get enlightened, is having a direct realization of emptiness and being able to sort of stay in that state. So finishing up on renunciation, I just want to talk a few minutes here about probably the heart of renunciation, which is renouncing worldly involvements. And in particular, what we mean by worldly involvements is the 8 worldly dharmas. So I just wanted to show this book here. Some of you might have it, some of you might read it. It's Lama Chopa's book, Door to Satisfaction. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite books. I haven't read it in about 20 years. It's been a while, so I should read it again. But this is great. We actually even had a book club on this years ago. It's a fabulous book. It's from the early 1990s. Lama Chopa's very, very young on the cover here from, what is it, 1994. I think it's still available from Wisdom, I'm pretty sure. But basically, this book, The Door to Satisfaction, what is it that opens the door to satisfaction, door to true happiness in your life, is renouncing the 8 worldly dharmas. So the 2 teachings he has in this book, this book is very funny. Lama Chopa is pretty hard teacher, right? He's very, very, in French, you say exigeant, kind of like demanding a little bit, right? So he says that the 2 teachings to be a real Dharma person, and I guess kind of not a fake or kind of poser, loser Dharma person, like to be a real Dharma person in your life, you always have to have 2 things that you're always meditating on, or 2 teachings that you keep at your heart as being kind of, I guess, the keys to open the door to happiness, door to satisfaction. One, you always have to have a realization, I guess you could say, or sort of a reflection on your own impermanence or death. So death meditation every day, or as much as you can, is important, not as a way of being morbid, of course, or being negative or being depressed, but rather as an affirmative thing, as a way of organizing your life on a day-to-day basis. So if you meditate on death, it helps you prioritize your life in terms of what's really important, what's really relevant in a spiritual way, and what's not relevant or just a waste of time. So if you meant to get up in the morning and just say, well, I might die today, what would this my last day be? Do I just want to spend it all day on YouTube, or just surfing social media, or sleeping all day in the couch watching TV, or do I want to do something meaningful with my life? So Lama Chopa says that that's, you know, Buddha even says that in the sutras, that that's meditation death is kind of like the elephant's footprint in the jungle. The biggest footprint, the sort of most powerful thing is the power of the elephant sort of pushing down a big footprint in the mud. So is the most powerful impact in your life is meditating on death. And again, the best thing it does is it just helps you set your priorities in a spiritual way in your day-to-day life. So Lama Chopa says that for being one. And the other one is constantly checking that you're not caught in the glue of the 8 worldly dharmas. So the 8 worldly dharmas literally is the crazy glue or the handcuff that's sort of pulling you along. If like samsara is a wheel rolling down a hill, the 8 worldly dharmas have you cuffed to that wheel and you're getting pulled along by it. The 8 worldly dharmas kind of are the attachments we have to our worldly life and to samsara. So we all have them to lesser degrees or greater degrees, depending on which ones. We go through different periods where some are worse than others, this or that. But on the whole, if you look at them, the 8 worldly dharmas, these are the things we really, really struggle with. So I like one thing Geshe Michael says, that this technically, I guess like Lama Chopa says, is a test of your renunciation. In other words, you can always check and see how important these 8 things are in your life. It'll determine how good of a Dharma person you really are. And again, not being too judgmental, I'm just saying this is a little test you can have for yourself on a daily basis. So as we all know, having studied LamRim or whatever, what are the 8 worldly dharmas? There's 4 of them. Presence, so basically 4 are the presence and the other 4 sort of mark an absence. So there's a way of doing it in English where it actually all rhymes, right? Where it's, so what is it? Loss and gain, fame and shame. They all rhyme. I can't remember. I'll have to think about that, what they are, to make them rhyme, and they might come to me in a moment. But otherwise, I'll go over the first set here. So 8 dharmas, the first 2 is basically getting material things. and then being upset when you don't get them or when you lose them. So we can see nowadays with our very sort of consumer competitive material culture, so much of our happiness, our worldly happiness, is based on getting things, buying things, shopping for entertainment, shopping as therapy, this and that. And just think what it would be like if you had no money or didn't have anything, where you couldn't get anything. You couldn't buy things for yourself, what that would feel like. So how much of our happiness is tied to getting things? And then how much of our happiness, think about, unhappiness is tied to when we lose things, when we break things, when they go away, things are stolen from us, things break, we don't get them. So again, just think the presence of getting stuff and then losing that or not getting it, right? So those are two huge worldly dharmas that we have in our day-to-day life. And again, you could even just think of it just in terms of getting things, just you have a little routine every day. I go into town and buy stuff at Starbucks to make me happy. Every day I get my latte and my donut or whatever. And then all of a sudden I can't do that. I don't have money, or that's prevented, or the Starbucks closes and I don't have that. Oh, I just feel a lot of suffering from that. So this sort of, so this first set here sort of attacks sort of the heart of a materialistic attitude. Second one is, of course, feeling good or not feeling good or feeling bad. So the second one, there's different ways of looking at it. One way we can see it is pleasure or comforts, the pleasures and comforts we have in our life. So we all want to feel good, all the little things we do every day to make ourselves feel good, to treat ourselves. People always see the importance of treating ourselves. And then what happens when we feel bad? We have a bad day, we have not just pleasure, but we have a lot of pain, or even, like I say, when we don't get the pleasures or comforts that we want, right? Like just think of it, let's say your hot water tank busts and you don't get a hot shower. Every day, let's say I like having a hot shower in the mornings. That's a pleasure or a comfort that I have. All of a sudden, I can't have it for a few days before the plumber comes in and fixes it. That can cause a lot of suffering or inconvenience or discomfort in myself. Like we have such cushy lives nowadays in the West that so much of our life is based just on looking for comforts and seeking pleasure. Well, imagine what happens if we don't have that. I mean, you could even see just with the pandemic, the last little bit, especially when it started, how a lot of things that we do, even the pleasure we have, a comfort of, things were locked down. You couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't visit people. There's a lot of suffering that comes with that. Getting well known and not getting well known. So this is the idea of having a reputation, either having a good reputation or being ignored. I'd say like having that good reputation taken away or having a bad reputation. What's funny is you can see in traditional societies where face or your honor is everything, just even on a tribal level. But we have this even ourselves where we want to have a good name even with friends or community. We don't like it when all of a sudden everyone stops liking us or there's rumors going around about us, making us out to be a bad person, this or that. You can look at social media in a lot of ways. Instagram, Facebook is just being around this. We're trying to have a good image of yourself that people like and sort of respond to. And what happens if no one's paying attention? No one's liking your pictures of your lunch. You took your pictures of your ramen noodles and no one's, oh my God, whatever. Like, oh my, I feel this terrible. Everyone's ignoring me. I'm not getting any likes. No one's following me on Instagram anymore. There's a lot of suffering that comes with that. So sort of, again, being caught between this dilemma of wanting something and then being upset when we get something bad or not getting it, right? And then finally, it says is people they're saying bad things to us or people saying good things to us. Basically, the other sort of the last two is that we like it when people are nice to us or are pleasant or say good things to us, and we don't like it when people are mean to us. And you can see this, like I being a flight attendant for almost 30 years. There's a whole thing when you work in the service industry. Your mind's very funny. You can have 500 people on the plane that like the flight and everyone's nice, and one person complains they're mean to you, and that's the person you think of. And what's funny is it's a hot potato. We're at the back and someone will always come back and say, can you believe it? This guy just threw garbage and hit me. You're like, oh, what a jerk. It's like one guy doing this. But it's funny that, in other words, what's upsetting is that that person was mean to me. That person wasn't nice to me. And that really affects my ego. So these are human things. I mean, we can't beat ourselves up too much about these things because we all have them. They're all present in mind. Everyone wants people to be nice to them, right? Everyone doesn't want people to be mean to them. Everyone wants a decent reputation, wants to be liked by other people. It's a human thing. We all like comforts. We all like pleasures. I mean, that's part of being human. This is actually, the 8 worldly dharmas has a lot to do with taking birth, rebirth in the karma dhatu, or in the desire realm, where we have an organic body of flesh and blood that has needs, that has drives, that has desires, right? It's part of being human. But on the other hand, when we look at it, this is what keeps us here. Chasing after these things or running away from these things are precisely what keeps the wheel of samsara going. It's only when we get to the point that we're okay with not being hung up on this stuff that we can do really, really deep Dharma work. If you wanted to do a 3-year retreat, deity retreat on 3 years, basically you don't care about the 8 worldly dharmas to be able to do that. You don't care that you're not updating social media when you're in a retreat. You don't care that you're not shopping or running around to Hawaii or Palm Springs. Like, you have that kind of renunciation where it's in terms of what's your priority in life? What are you investing in? Desire as investment. So the thing with the 8 worldly dharmas is it's endless. It's a bottomless pit. You can invest all your time and effort into this stuff, and in the end, what do you get from it? What do you really get from all the stuff that you shop for? What do you get from all your comforts and pleasures? What do you get from just always trying to have people be nice to you and say good things about you and follow you around on social media? In the big picture, what do you get? Then you die, and then you do it all over again in your next life. So these are the 8 worldly dharmas. So again, as a Dharma person, how much time and effort and investment do you put into this stuff? Like Rinpoche always says, you don't have enough time. There's no way you'll be able to do deep Dharma work, especially deep tantric work in your life, in retreats, everything else, if you're spending your time doing this. So anyway, that's the 8 worldly dharmas. It's a quick one, but again, let's always have to make the prayer to try and remember these things, to always check up on them. And again, you can see, just like when you start studying your vows, out of all your pratimoksha, bodhisattva, and tantric vows, a lot of them you can keep no problem. You look at them and say, well, that's easy. But then there's always that small number of them which you just really can't keep. You're always breaking them because these are your issues. These are your hangups on a psychoanalytic level. This is getting close to your traumas, your delusions, the kind of karmic profile you have as a person with all your shortcomings and issues. So those vows are the most important ones. The ones you break the most are the ones that tell you about the spiritual work that you have to do. These are the roadblocks in your life on your spiritual goal. That's where you apply your effort in that part. Without vows, you can't do a proper mapping of what your unconscious is, so to speak, what your issues are, where you're failing yourself and failing other people. So it's the same with the 8 worldly dharmas. You might be fine with everything except you really like comforts. That's your big hang up. It's like, I'm never giving up whatever, like these kinds of things that make me happy in my life. This is, I'm attached to these right to the end. And then the other ones might be fine. So then that will tell you a lot about you, your sort of spiritual character, so to speak, and where your shortcomings are. So anyway, anybody want to, any questions or add to that at all? Or what do you guys think? It's pretty straightforward in some ways. I know we've sort of talked about this before in LamRim class. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I think Natasha's just saying she's got to go. Thank you to everybody. And so let's just, again, just if that's sort of clear with everybody, let's put these sort of teachings into our heart. Again, just something to meditate on, something to keep sort of as a personal ethic or personal advice for our life. And again, why are we doing this? All that we're doing here is with the bodhicitta motivation, that we're doing this for the sort of the enlightenment and healing of all sentient beings. Let's just take a moment to dedicate here. Blessings of all holy beings, all of our teachers, truth of karma, of causes and their effects, and the power of a pure bodhicitta motivation. May our Dharma wishes be fulfilled. Okay, let me just turn this off here.